It's not so much about the tool, but it's the thinking behind what you're creating in the tool. I'm interested more in that behind the thinking than the actual platform. If you went in and designed something to what you thought looked nice, it's going to get thrown out instantly because they'll have a particular font, they might have a particular color palette. It's probably the purpose. I think that can trip up many people. You understand your audience, because if it's not going to be beneficial for them, they're not going to engage in that, and you're not going to see the results that you want to see from it.
I would love to also know if someone knows perhaps Canva, Google Docs, maybe some basic scheduling tool. What good enough for a junior level look like? Where is that sort of basic competence bar located?
So again, I think when it comes to tools like Canva, it very much depends on where you end up working. So for example, we don't use Canva, where I work, and we have a graphics team that help with a lot of the content creation or creating templates, and we use Adobe. So it's not so much about the tool, but it's the thinking behind what you're creating in the tool. So what I would like to understand is how you use Canva to create the content, not necessarily the nitty-gritty on I use this particular feature, but the thinking behind it. So if you're creating a piece of content for Instagram, what are you thinking about versus how that would look for LinkedIn or TikTok, for example? I'm interested more in that behind the thinking than the actual platform.
Yeah.
Obviously, having Canva is a big tool that a lot of people use, and maybe if you go and work at another organization, you'll need to be able to demonstrate that you can use that. So it is a very good tool to have, on your CV, but do be able to explain the reasons why you're creating that content. What's the reasoning behind using the particular imagery or the format of it? Why have you created a single image post instead of a carousel? If you are using Canva to create some examples, I think it would be really useful to maybe map that to an existing brand, and then you can then explain some of the reasoning, because one of the things you'll need to be able to do when you go into a company is perhaps design to their own brand guidelines. So having an awareness of that is really valuable. And everyone has their own idea of what they think looks nice. But in the reality, when you go and work for a brand, they'll have their own brand guidelines. So, if you went in and designed something to what you thought looked nice, it's going to get thrown out instantly because they'll have a particular font, they might have a particular color palette. So I'm interested in how you can take content and chop it up in different ways on Canva to use on the different platforms. So again, it's having that understanding of how content works on the different social media platforms, whether that's organic or paid. But I think Canva is a good tool, so for anyone that is, again, looking to work at maybe a smaller organization, that's maybe a tool that they use. So it's great that you've got the experience of using that, but it's just understanding why you're creating content in a certain way rather than,
well, I can operate this
pretty.
tool, What do you think beginners usually misunderstand about social media tools? Are they trying to design too much? Or maybe they're not quite clear on the purpose of the actual post that they're trying to use? Maybe it's how they read the dashboard and stuff like that. What do you think is the bottleneck that sets them back?
It's probably the purpose. I think that can trip up many people. Sometimes you may be asked to create something and you just go down a rabbit hole, or you've maybe seen something, a trend that you would like to try out. It's just going back to basics, understand your audience. Because if it's not going to be beneficial for them, they're not going to engage in that, and you're not going to see the results that you want to see from it. So think about the audience, and that will help you then decide which way you go when you're deciding to create a piece of content. Think about what's working on those platforms as well. So again, LinkedIn, we know carousel posts are doing really well at the moment. People love them. They get a lot of clicks. They have their place. Video obviously has its place. So think about how you can create that content. But I also think don't approach social media content as a one and done. I think a lot of people do. Try and make your content work harder for you. You can take one piece of content and splice it up in a few different ways. Then your content calendar will be a bit fuller. You can then also reuse content. And I think some people think that they can't, but You can absolutely promote the same piece of content further down the line, as long as it obviously doesn't have any time restrictions. You can promote that further down the line as well. So making your content work harder for you, I think, is one of the things. When it comes to dashboards, reporting, it can be overwhelming. You know, some of the dashboards have so much information. So again, it's understanding what's important for your business. What are they actually wanting to know? I think there's the reporting that will be fed, you know, up to management. Then there's the reporting that's useful for you. So I like to get into the detail. I like to understand what people are resonating with, because that helps me work with the graphics team to alter our templates, because I can say, look, our carousel posts are getting a lot more engagement. Let's start looking at how we can do more of these. That's not necessarily something I would feed up to management, because that's not top line metrics. It's really important for me to have an understanding of that myself. The same with video. You know, it's that feedback of, oh, I can see featuring our people is getting more engagement than the polished videos. Yeah. So I think, metrics can be overwhelming. So again, just think about top level to start with, understand what the business wants to report on. You can always build on it.